You feel it the moment your feet hit the floor in the morning. That strange electric burn crawling up from your toes. That unsettling wobble when you stand up too fast, grabbing the nightstand because your feet simply do not communicate with your brain the way they used to. You have mentioned it to your doctor. You have described the tingling, the numbness, the sensation that someone wrapped your feet in wet concrete overnight. And what did they tell you? They told you it was normal. They handed you a prescription for a generic B12 supplement from a pharmacy shelf, patted you on the shoulder, and sent you home. Here is what they did not tell you. That generic B12 they prescribed is biologically useless for what is happening inside your peripheral nerves. Not marginally useless, not slightly ineffective. Completely, biochemically incapable of reaching the nerve tissue that is currently being destroyed. And while you faithfully swallow that pill every morning, the microscopic wiring system running through your feet and hands continues to erode, silently, progressively, and at a rate that accelerates every single year after 50. There are two things you need to understand right now, and neither of them will come from your doctor's office. First, the burning, the numbness, and the balance problems you are experiencing have a precise biological name and a precise biological cause that mainstream medicine consistently underdiagnoses in adults over 50. Second, there is a specific, molecularly targeted combination of nutrients that can penetrate the nerve membrane directly, halt the destruction, and begin rebuilding the biological insulation your nerves have lost. This is not a theory. This is documented biochemistry. And by the time this video ends, you will have the exact protocol in your hands. Let me take you inside your nervous system, because what is happening there right now is something your doctor almost certainly never visualized for you, and once you see it, you will never look at nerve tingling the same way again. Picture an electrical cable, not a thin household wire, but the kind of heavy-duty industrial cable you see running along the outside of buildings, carrying high-voltage power. That cable has layers of thick, protective rubber insulation wrapped tightly around the copper conductor at its core. As long as that rubber casing is intact, electricity flows perfectly, signals transmit instantly, and the system functions with precision. Now imagine someone drips battery acid onto that rubber casing, slowly, repeatedly, over years. The acid does not destroy the cable all at once. It eats away microscopically, thin layer by thin layer, until small sections of the copper conductor sit completely exposed. At that point, the electrical signals begin to misfire. They jump erratically. They short circuit. They generate heat and interference at the damaged sites. That cable is still technically functional, but the transmission is corrupted at every point where the insulation has been dissolved. That is precisely what is happening inside your peripheral nerves right now, and the acid doing the damage is not coming from outside your body. It is being generated internally through a process called peripheral demyelination, driven by decades of blood sugar fluctuation and oxidative stress that the aging body can no longer neutralize efficiently. Here is the biology in clinical terms. Your peripheral nerves, the ones running from your spinal cord all the way to the tips of your toes and the ends of your fingers, are wrapped in a protective protein and lipid structure called the myelin sheath. Myelin is not passive insulation. It is a living biological coat, actively maintained by specialized cells called Schwann cells that dramatically accelerates nerve signal transmission and protects the raw axon beneath it from chemical damage. In a healthy nerve, electrical impulses travel at speeds exceeding 70 meters per second because the myelin sheath allows signals to leap from node to node rather than crawling along the entire length of the fiber. When myelin is intact, you feel temperature accurately. You feel pressure precisely. You place your foot on the ground and your brain receives an immediate, high-resolution map of the surface beneath you. Your balance system functions because your nervous system provides real-time, high-fidelity data. Now, here is where the biology becomes personal for everyone over 50. Every significant spike in blood glucose triggers a molecular cascade that generates advanced glycation end products, compounds your body produces when excess sugar binds to proteins and damages them irreversibly. These advanced glycation end products attack the Schwann cells responsible for maintaining your myelin. At the same time, the mitochondria inside those nerve cells produce elevated reactive oxygen species under metabolic stress, and after 50, your natural antioxidant defense systems, particularly glutathione and superoxide dismutase, operate at significantly reduced efficiency. The result is a sustained biochemical assault on your myelin sheath from two directions simultaneously. The insulation thins, sections become damaged, the raw axon becomes exposed, and just like that industrial cable with dissolved rubber casing, your nerve signals begin to misfire, generate false heat signals the brain interprets as burning, transmit incomplete sensory data the brain experiences as numbness, and fail to deliver the precise proprioceptive feedback your cerebellum needs to maintain your balance. This is peripheral demyelination. It is documented extensively in neurological literature. And it is the precise mechanism behind the burning in your feet at night, the tingling in your fingers in the morning, and the frightening instability you feel when you step off a curb or rise from a chair in the dark. Your nervous system is sending corrupted signals because its insulation has been chemically compromised. The solution, therefore, is not to take a generic vitamin. The solution is to penetrate the nerve membrane directly, neutralize the ongoing chemical assault, and deliver the raw molecular materials your Schwann cells need to rebuild the myelin they have lost. But before we get to the solution, I need to dismantle something, because there is a very good chance you are currently taking the exact supplement that is failing you at a molecular level while the company that makes it continues to profit. Walk into any pharmacy in the country, pull a B12 supplement off the shelf, turn it over and read the form of B12 listed in the ingredients. In the overwhelming majority of products, including the brand your doctor likely recommended and the one Medicare-approved supplements commonly contain, you will find one word: cyanocobalamin. And what I am about to tell you about that molecule is something the supplement industry has spent considerable resources ensuring you never fully understand. Cyanocobalamin is a synthetic, laboratory-manufactured form of vitamin B12 that does not exist in nature. It was developed in the mid-20th century because it is extraordinarily cheap to produce, extraordinarily stable in storage, and extraordinarily profitable at scale. What the manufacturers do not prominently advertise is the chemical reason it is so stable. Cyanocobalamin is bound to a cyanide molecule. A literal cyanide ligand, chemically attached to the cobalt atom at the center of the B12 structure, is what gives this synthetic version its shelf stability and its manufacturing cost advantages. Now, before your body can use any B12 at all, it must first remove that cyanide group through a metabolic process that requires significant cellular energy and specific liver enzymes. In a young, metabolically robust liver, this conversion happens with reasonable efficiency, though still at a lower rate than with natural forms. But here is the clinical data that should make you furious. After 50, liver enzyme efficiency for this specific conversion pathway declines measurably. Multiple pharmacokinetic studies have documented that older adults convert cyanocobalamin to usable B12 at significantly lower rates than younger populations, with some research suggesting conversion efficiency drops by 30 to 40% across the 50 to 70 age range. And that is before you factor in the fact that even successfully converted B12 must then navigate to peripheral nerve tissue, the most remote, low-priority destination in your circulatory system, competing against the brain, the heart, and every other organ with higher metabolic priority. The clinical outcome is predictable and damning. Standard cyanocobalamin supplementation in adults over 50 produces measurable increases in serum B12 levels. Doctors see the blood work, declare the levels adequate, and consider the intervention successful. But serum levels and peripheral nerve tissue levels are not the same measurement. Serum B12 tells you what is circulating in your blood. It tells you almost nothing about what is actually reaching the Schwann cells wrapping your axons in your feet. This is why people faithfully take their pharmacy B12 for years, while the tingling in their toes progresses exactly as if they were taking nothing at all. The intervention is succeeding at the wrong biological address. Now, let me give you the solution that operates at the right address. The molecular combination I am about to describe does not work at the serum level. It does not ask your aging liver to perform a detoxification reaction before delivering results. It bypasses those limitations entirely and works at the level of the nerve membrane itself. Benfotiamine is a synthetic derivative of vitamin B1, thiamine, that was developed specifically to solve the bioavailability problem that prevents standard thiamine from reaching nerve tissue efficiently. Standard thiamine is water soluble, which means it dissolves in your bloodstream, circulates briefly, and is cleared by your kidneys with remarkable speed. Your peripheral nerves, however, are wrapped in a lipid bilayer membrane, a fatty, hydrophobic barrier that water-soluble compounds cannot penetrate without active transport mechanisms that become increasingly inefficient with age. This is the fundamental molecular wall standing between standard B vitamins and the nerve tissue that needs them most. Benfotiamine is fat-soluble. It is structurally modified with a lipophilic component that allows it to dissolve directly into lipid membranes, passing through the nerve cell wall the way oil passes through a similar oil barrier, without requiring active transport, without competing for limited carrier proteins, and without being cleared rapidly by the kidneys. Once inside the nerve cell, it converts to active thiamine pyrophosphate, directly fueling the metabolic pathways Schwann cells use to maintain and repair myelin. Clinical research published in peer-reviewed journals, including studies from German neurological research centers that pioneered benfotiamine development, has documented that benfotiamine achieves nerve tissue concentrations 5 to 25 times higher than equivalent doses of standard water-soluble thiamine. In trials examining diabetic peripheral neuropathy, which operates through the same demyelination pathway affecting aging adults, benfotiamine supplementation produced statistically significant reductions in pain scores, burning sensations, and balance impairment markers after 8 to 12 weeks of consistent use. Methylcobalamin is the biologically active form of B12 that your neurons actually use without requiring any conversion. Unlike cyanocobalamin, it carries no cyanide ligand. It arrives at the cellular level in the precise molecular configuration your Schwann cells require to synthesize new myelin components. Research from Japanese neurological institutes, where methylcobalamin has been prescribed clinically for peripheral neuropathy since the 1980s, demonstrated that high-dose methylcobalamin supplementation promoted measurable regeneration of damaged peripheral nerve fibers, as evidenced by nerve conduction velocity studies, a direct measurement of how effectively the myelin sheath is transmitting electrical signals. These are not theoretical outcomes. These are measured, documented improvements in the biological function you are trying to restore. The third element of this protocol is R-lipoic acid, and without it, the first two cannot perform optimally. R-lipoic acid is the biologically active isomer of alpha-lipoic acid, the specific molecular configuration that your cells produce endogenously and that operates both inside and outside the cell membrane, a property shared by almost no other antioxidant compound. This dual-phase activity means R-lipoic acid neutralizes the reactive oxygen species attacking your Schwann cells, both within the lipid membrane environment where benfotiamine is operating and in the aqueous cellular interior. It also regenerates glutathione, your body's primary endogenous antioxidant, which declines dramatically after 50. Clinical trials, including the Aladdin study, conducted across multiple European research centers, demonstrated that alpha-lipoic acid supplementation reduced neuropathic symptoms, including burning pain and paresthesia, in a statistically significant, dose-dependent pattern. R-lipoic acid achieves superior bioavailability compared to the synthetic S-isomer commonly used in mass-market supplements, requiring lower doses to achieve equivalent biological effect. Here is the exact protocol. Take 300 milligrams of benfotiamine, 5,000 micrograms of sublingual methylcobalamin, and 300 milligrams of R-lipoic acid together immediately after your first meal of the day. The sublingual delivery of methylcobalamin is non-negotiable. Placing the tablet under your tongue allows direct absorption through the sublingual mucosa into the bloodstream, completely bypassing the gastric intrinsic factor dependency that further reduces B12 absorption in adults over 50 who frequently have compromised stomach acid production. The post-meal timing ensures benfotiamine, as a fat-soluble compound, is absorbed alongside dietary fats, maximizing its uptake through the intestinal wall. Take this consistently every single day without gaps. Now I am issuing you a direct challenge, and I want you to take this seriously. Starting today, I want you to throw away your cyanocobalamin. Not reduce it, not finish the bottle. Throw it away. Because every day you continue taking it is a day you are providing your body with a metabolically expensive, biologically inadequate substitute while your nerve tissue continues to deteriorate. Implement this exact protocol for 30 days. On day 1, stand near a wall for safety and measure how long you can balance on a single leg. Note the intensity of any nighttime burning or tingling in your feet on a scale you can track. At day 30, perform the same balance test and reassess your nighttime sensations. The clinical literature predicts you will see measurable changes in both metrics because you will finally be delivering biologically active nerve repair compounds to the precise cellular address where the damage is occurring. Share this video with someone you care about who has been quietly suffering through tingling, burning, or balance problems and accepting it as unavoidable. Because the most dangerous lie in medicine is the one delivered with a sympathetic shrug and a useless prescription. Subscribe and hit the notification bell right now, because the next video I am releasing will expose something that will permanently change how you think about muscle loss after 50. The science reveals that the standard recommendation to simply eat more protein is not only insufficient, but may be actively accelerating a specific cellular aging mechanism that is eroding your muscle tissue from the inside. What I am about to show you is the difference between eating protein and actually building muscle after 50. And it involves a biological switch. Most people over 50 have unknowingly turned off.